Chapter 9. Awakening. As the morning light filtered through the curtains, Alex found himself being gently shaken awake by his mother's voice. "Wake up, Alex. You're going to be late," she said, her tone filled with a mixture of concern and confusion. "And why are you sleeping on the floor?" Alex groaned softly, blinking sleepily as he tried to gather his thoughts. He didn't want to alarm his mother or reveal anything about his newfound powers, so he quickly improvised. "I don't know, Mom," he mumbled, rubbing his eyes and feigning confusion. "Maybe I fell and just decided to continue sleeping on the floor." His mother raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced by his explanation. But rather than pressing the issue further, she simply sighed and shook her head. "Well, just make sure to get ready quickly. You don't want to be late for school," she said, her voice tinged with a hint of exasperation. With a nod, Alex dragged himself off the floor and began to gather his things, his mind still reeling from the events of the previous night. As he hurriedly dressed and prepared for the day ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. As Alex made his way to school, a sense of unease settled over him like a heavy cloak. With each step, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, a sensation that sent chills down his spine. Glancing over his shoulder, he caught sight of a figure in black standing at the edge of the street, their gaze fixed intently on him. Alex's heart quickened its pace, his mind racing with a flurry of questions and doubts. "Is someone following me?" he thought, his breath catching in his throat. "Could it be that man in black?" Shaking his head to dispel his growing paranoia, Alex tried to convince himself that he was simply overthinking things. Perhaps the man was just a passerby, or maybe his mind was playing tricks on him. But no matter how hard he tried to rationalize it, the feeling of being watched persisted, casting a shadow over his otherwise ordinary morning. As he continued on his journey to school, Alex couldn't shake the nagging sense of unease that lingered in the back of his mind. And as he glanced back once more, he couldn't help but wonder if there was more to the mysterious figure in black than met the eye. As Alex rushed into the school building, his heart still racing from the encounter with the mysterious figure, he felt a sudden tap on his back. Startled, he spun around, his eyes wide with fear, expecting to come face to face with the man in black. But instead of the ominous stranger, he found himself face to face with Noah, his best friend, wearing a puzzled expression. "It's just me, Alex," Noah said, his brow furrowed in concern. "What's going on? You seem paranoid. Before I patted you on the back, you were looking around nervously." Breathing a sigh of relief, Alex's tense muscles relaxed slightly as he realized his mistake. "Sorry, Noah," he replied, his voice tinged with embarrassment. "I thought you were someone else. I guess I'm just a little on edge today." Noah raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical of Alex's explanation. "Are you sure everything's okay?" he asked, his tone filled with genuine concern. Alex hesitated for a moment, unsure of how much to reveal. But ultimately, he decided to confide in his friend, trusting Noah with the truth. "I saw someone watching me earlier," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "A man in black. It's probably nothing, but it freaked me out." Noah's expression softened, his eyes filled with understanding. "Hey, it's okay," he said, placing a reassuring hand on Alex's shoulder. "We'll figure this out together. But for now, let's focus on getting through the day, okay?" With a nod, Alex forced a smile, grateful for Noah's unwavering support. As they made their way to their first class of the day, he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief, knowing that he didn't have to face his fears alone. And as they entered the classroom together, Alex knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he had a friend by his side who would always have his back. As the school day passed, everything seemed relatively normal, especially since the notorious bully Trevor was absent. With the final bell signaling dismissal, Alex prepared to walk home, Noah having been called away by a family emergency. Before leaving, Alex glanced around, half expecting to catch sight of the man in black lurking nearby. Seeing nothing, he dismissed his concerns as paranoia and began his journey home. But as he walked, a creeping sense of unease settled over him once more, his senses on high alert. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted the unmistakable figure of the man in black, poorly concealed but clearly following him. Heart pounding in his chest, Alex quickened his pace, his mind racing with fear and confusion. What did this mysterious stalker want from him? And why was he being pursued? With each step, the man in black drew closer, his presence like a shadow looming over Alex's shoulder. Panic rising in his throat, Alex made a split-second decision to take a longer route home, hoping to shake off his pursuer. But to his horror, the man in black changed course as well, closing the distance between them with alarming speed. Desperate now, Alex broke into a sprint, his legs pumping furiously as he dodged obstacles and weaved through the crowded streets. Suddenly, the man in black was upon him, hot on his heels as Alex's heart thundered in his chest. With no other option, he made a daring leap over a fence, narrowly avoiding the snapping jaws of a nearby dog. But even as he landed safely on the other side, the danger was far from over. A car screeched to a halt just inches from him, forcing Alex to dive out of harm's way. Breathless and terrified, Alex found himself cornered in a dead-end street, the man in black closing in with each passing second. Panic surged through him as he searched frantically for an escape route, his mind racing for a solution. And then, in a stroke of desperation, he spotted a heavy manhole cover just within reach. Adrenaline coursing through his veins, Alex summoned every ounce of strength and lifted the cover, revealing the darkness below. With no time to spare, he plunged into the depths below, his heart pounding in his ears as he ran through the twisting tunnels. Behind him, he could hear the echo of footsteps, growing louder with each passing moment. For a moment, all was still. But then, with a flicker of light and a rush of air, Alex felt himself being whisked away. In an instant, he materialized in his room, gasping for breath and trembling with exhaustion. But as the adrenaline of the chase began to fade, a wave of dizziness washed over him, accompanied by a piercing ringing in his ears. Clutching his head, Alex staggered backward, the room spinning around him. Collapsed on the floor, he struggled to regain his bearings, his mind reeling from the chaos of the chase. With each passing moment, the dizziness and ringing grew more intense, threatening to overwhelm him. But even as he fought to steady himself, Alex knew that he had narrowly escaped a fate worse than he could imagine. And as he lay there, battered and bruised, he couldn't shake the feeling that his troubles were far from over.